October 14, 1943. High above Germany, the sky is a pale, endless blue, deceptively calm. Staff Sergeant Daniel Harper grips the cold aluminum frame beside his waist gun, his gloves stiff with frost. At 25,000 feet, the air inside the B-17 Iron Resolve cuts like glass. Every breath feels borrowed. Below them lies Schweinfurt, the heart of Nazi Germany's ball-bearing industry, a target so critical that command calls this mission essential, even if it costs everything. The drone of 4 Wright Cyclone engines fills the fuselage, steady but strained. Around Harper, the bomber formation stretches across the sky in tight, disciplined boxes, dozens of B-17 flying fortresses holding formation like a moving city of steel. No escort fighters today. They had to turn back hours ago. Now they are alone. Flak ahead, the navigator calls over the intercom. Harper squints forward. At first, it looks like distant storm clouds. Then the sky erupts, black bursts of anti-aircraft fire bloom violently around them. The aircraft shudders as shockwaves ripple through the formation. Hold steady, the pilot shouts. Harper's hands tighten around the .50 caliber machine gun. His world narrows to the circular frame of his gun sight. Then he sees them, small, fast-moving shapes slicing through the sky. Bandits, 12 o'clock high. German fighters, Messerschmitt Bf-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s dive into the formation with terrifying precision. Their engines scream as they cut through the American bombers like wolves through a herd. The sky becomes chaos. Tracer rounds streak past Harper in glowing lines. He opens fire, the recoil hammering into his shoulder. A German fighter flashes across his sights too fast. Another appears from below, guns blazing. The aircraft jerks violently as bullets tear into its fuselage. Hydraulics hit. Someone yells. The Iron Resolve shudders again. Smoke begins to creep along the interior, thin at first, then thicker. Harper dares a glance out the side window and his stomach tightens. Another B-17 is drifting too close. Way too close. Its wing is damaged, one engine burning, propeller bent and wobbling. The aircraft is losing control, sliding sideways through the formation like a wounded animal. Break, break, comes the desperate shout over the radio. But it's too late. The two bombers are on a collision course. Harper's breath stops as the crippled B-17 lurches toward them, its wings slicing through the air, closing the distance in seconds. The sky narrows to one moment. Impact is inevitable. The collision hits like a thunderclap. Metal screams against metal, an unnatural, tearing sound that cuts through the roar of engines and gunfire. Harper is thrown sideways, his shoulder slamming into the gun mount as the entire aircraft jolts violently. For a split second, everything goes silent. Then chaos floods back in. Jesus, what was that? Someone shouts over the intercom. Harper struggles upright, his ears ringing. The Iron Resolve is no longer flying clean. It's dragging, pulling hard to the left. The control cables groan under strain, the airframe trembling as if it might tear itself apart. He looks out the waist window and freezes. The other B-17 is still there, not falling, not breaking away. Locked, its right wing has sliced into the left side of Iron Resolve. The two aircraft fuse together in a twisted, impossible embrace. Aluminum skin is shredded where they've collided. One of the enemy bomber's engines burns bright orange, flames licking backward into the slipstream. Are they stuck? The co-pilot mutters, disbelief cracking his voice. They are. Two bombers, weighing over 30 tons each, are now flying as one broken machine. Harper watches as figures move inside the other aircraft. He can see them clear as day. American airmen, just like him, trapped inside their own crippled fortress. One of them stares back through shattered plexiglass, his face pale, eyes wide with shock. For a brief, surreal moment, the war disappears. Just two crews, two machines, one shared fate. Then the sky reminds them. Another wave of German fighters dives in. They're coming back. Harper shouts, but something changes. The fighters hesitate. The locked bombers present a strange silhouette, bigger, unstable, unpredictable. The gunners aboard the fused aircraft open fire together now, their combined .50 caliber guns creating a deadly web of tracer fire. The sky lights up with defensive fury. A Messerschmitt dives too close to aggressive. Harper tracks it, fires. The rounds tear into its wing, and the fighter spirals away in smoke. But their situation is worse than any enemy attack. The combined weight is too much. Altitude is dropping. Pilot, we're losing lift. The engineer calls. Inside the cockpit, the controls are sluggish, unresponsive. The aircraft groans as it begins a slow, unstoppable descent. Harper grips the side of the fuselage, his heart pounding. Two planes, one failing system, and no way out. He looks again at the other bomber. The men inside are scrambling now, checking gear, reaching for parachutes. They know. Soon, they'll have to jump. But Harper doesn't move, because if they bail out now, they'll be dropping straight into the heart of Nazi Germany. And below them, the flak still waits. The descent is slow, but relentless. The iron resolve no longer answers like an aircraft. It feels like a falling structure, dragged downward by something it cannot escape. The control yoke shudders in the pilot's grip, vibrating with every second they remain fused to the other bomber. Altitude, the pilot asks. 23,000, dropping fast. Harper feels it in his stomach before he hears it, the subtle, sickening shift as gravity begins to win. He forces himself to look again at the other B-17. The two aircraft are still locked tight, metal twisted together like bones after a crash. Flames continue to burn along the enemy bomber's engine, but weaker now, starved by the thin air. Smoke trails behind them, marking their path across the sky like a signal flare for every German gun below. Inside the other aircraft, movement becomes frantic. One airman kicks open an escape hatch. Another struggles with his parachute harness, fingers clumsy in the cold. Harper can see the fear in their faces, raw, unfiltered. They're preparing to jump. Orders, Harper calls into the intercom. Static crackles. Then the pilot's voice comes through, tight and controlled. Hold positions. Stand by. Stand by. Harper almost laughs, but nothing about this is funny. He checks his own chute, running a gloved hand across the straps. It's there. It's ready. But jumping means surrendering to whatever waits below. Prison camps, interrogation, or worse. The aircraft jerks violently. A loud crack echoes through the fuselage metal, giving way somewhere deep within the structure. The connection between the two bombers shifts, scraping, grinding. For a moment, Harper thinks they might separate, but they don't. Instead, the nose of the other B-17 dips slightly, dragging them further off balance. We're losing control, the co-pilot shouts. Harper braces himself as the horizon tilts. The sky, once stable, begins to rotate slowly around them. Not a full spin, not yet, but enough to signal the beginning of the end. Then something unexpected happens. The German fighters pull away. One by one, they break off their attack runs, circling at a distance instead, watching, waiting. It doesn't make sense. They're backing off. Harper mutters. No one answers, because everyone aboard Iron Resolve understands the same thing at the same time. They're no longer a threat. They're a spectacle. Two bombers locked together, falling from the sky. A rare prize. Alive, if possible. Harper's jaw tightens. They want us intact, he says quietly. Below them, the clouds begin to part. Through the gaps, the ground becomes visible, dark forests, scattered fields, and somewhere beneath it all, the machinery of the Reich waiting to receive them. The descent steepens. Inside the other bomber, the first man steps to the open hatch. He hesitates only a second, then jumps. The first parachute blossoms open, a small, fragile white flower against the endless sky. Harper watches it drift downward, impossibly calm compared to the chaos still gripping the two bombers. For a moment, it feels like escape is simple. Just jump, just fall. But inside the Iron Resolve, no one moves. Do we bail? The radio operator asks, voice barely steady. No answer, because the truth is worse than the question. They're still too high, too exposed, and worse still, entangled. If they jump now, they risk being pulled into the spinning wreckage, or shredded by debris if the aircraft finally tears itself apart. Another crack splits the airframe, louder this time. Harper flinches as a section of torn metal peels back along the fuselage, the wind screaming through the gap. The temperature drops instantly, biting into exposed skin. Across the twisted wreck, more men from the second B-17 begin to jump, one after another. Some leap cleanly into open air. Others hesitate too long. Harper sees one man slip as he exits, his chute catching awkwardly against the jagged wing where the planes are fused. For a split second, he's caught dangling between two dying machines. Then the fabric tears free. He vanishes below. God, Harper mutters. Inside his own aircraft, tension snaps. I'm not staying in this coffin, the ball turret gunner shouts. His voice cracks with fear as he forces his way toward the escape hatch. Wait, the co-pilot barks. We're not stable yet. But fear wins. The gunner disappears through the hatch. Seconds later, his parachute blooms beneath them. Harper grips the edge of the window, knuckles white beneath his gloves. Every instinct tells him to follow, to get out while he still can. But something holds him. A glance toward the cockpit. The pilot and co-pilot are still fighting the controls. Still trying. Why aren't we jumping? Harper demands into the intercom. The answer comes, strained but clear. Because she's still flying. Harper looks around the shattered interior. Flying. It doesn't feel like flying. It feels like falling with style. Barely held together by stubborn will and failing metal. Another violent jolt shakes the aircraft. This time, the connection between the two bombers shifts dramatically. The nose of the second B-17 dips sharply, dragging Iron Resolve with it. The horizon tilts faster now, not a slow drift anymore. A spiral is beginning. Loose equipment slides across the floor. A loose helmet smashes into the wall, bouncing wildly as gravity shifts direction. "We're going into a spin," someone shouts. Harper's heart slams against his ribs. Outside, the remaining crew of the other bomber scramble to escape. Only a few figures remain inside. Time is running out. The aircraft groans deep, tortured metal bending under impossible stress. And then, a loud, deafening snap. Something critical has just given way. The snap echoes through the aircraft like a gunshot inside a coffin. For a split second, nothing happens. Then everything does. The fused wreck lurches violently as the connection between the two bombers tears apart. Twisted metal shrieks, ripping free in a cascade of sparks and debris. The second B-17 drops away, its broken wing shearing loose as it falls, spinning into open sky. Harper is thrown hard against the fuselage as Iron Resolve bucks upward. Suddenly lighter but wildly unstable. "We're clear," the co-pilot shouts, but they're not safe. Not even close. Freed from the weight of the second aircraft, Iron Resolve pitches sharply nose down. The sudden imbalance sends it into a violent dive. The altimeter needle spinning as altitude disappears in seconds. "Pull her up! Pull her up!" someone yells. The pilot fights the controls, muscles straining against forces that don't want to be controlled anymore. The yoke resists, sluggish and heavy, as if the aircraft itself has decided to fall. Harper clings to his position, every nerve screaming. The horizon flips, blue sky replaced by dark earth rushing up to meet them. Below, he catches a glimpse of the other bomber. What's left of it? The fuselage spins like a broken toy, trailing smoke and fire. A few parachutes drift nearby, tiny, fragile lives escaping the destruction. But most of the aircraft is coming down fast. Too fast. Back inside Iron Resolve, the dive steepens. The engines howl at a pitch Harper has never heard before. Wind tears through the damaged sections of the fuselage, ripping at anything not bolted down. "We're exceeding limits," the engineer warns. Another shudder. Another crack. The aircraft is tearing itself apart. "Bail out! Bail out!" The order finally comes. This time, no one hesitates. Harper moves instantly, grabbing his parachute straps, securing them tight. Around him, the remaining crew scramble for the escape hatch, pushing, shouting, desperate to get out before the aircraft disintegrates. He reaches the hatch and stops. Just for a second, he looks back toward the cockpit. The pilot is still there, still fighting. "Go," the pilot shouts without turning. That's an order. Harper nods, even though the man can't see him. Then he steps into the open sky. The wind hits him like a wall, ripping the breath from his lungs, spinning him violently as he falls away from the dying bomber. For a moment, there is only chaos. Sky, earth, smoke. Then, he pulls the cord. Nothing happens. His heart stops. He yanks again, and the parachute explodes open above him. The violent jerk snaps him upright. The world suddenly slowing as the canopy catches the air. Silence. After all the noise, all the chaos, there is only wind now. Harper looks up. Above him, Iron Resolve is still falling, out of control, and the pilot is still inside. The sky is suddenly quiet. Harper hangs beneath the parachute, swaying gently as cold air rushes past his face. His gloves tremble not from the wind, but from everything that just happened. Above him, the war is still falling apart. The Iron Resolve continues its descent, nose angled steeply toward the earth. One engine is on fire now, flames trailing behind like a burning scar across the sky. The aircraft shudders as pieces begin to break away, small fragments at first, then larger sections tearing loose under the strain. Harper watches, helpless. "Come on, pull up," he whispers, but the bomber doesn't listen. It dips lower, faster, the ground rising to meet it. Then something changes. The nose lifts, just slightly. Harper blinks, unsure if he imagined it. But no, the aircraft is fighting. The pilot is still in control. Barely. The dive slows. Not a recovery, not a climb, but enough. Enough to give the man inside a chance. Harper exhales, a breath he didn't realize he was holding. Below, the world is coming into focus. Fields stretch across the German countryside, patches of green and brown broken by thin dirt roads and clusters of small buildings. Smoke rises in the distance, likely from other bombers that didn't make it this far, and scattered across the sky around him. Parachutes, some close, some far. Silent witnesses drifting down together. Harper turns slowly in his harness, scanning the horizon. The German fighters are still there, but they're not attacking. They circle at a distance, engines humming like predators unsure whether to strike. One fighter dips lower, passing near a drifting parachute close enough for Harper to see the black cross on its wing. The pilot looks at him, just for a moment, then pulls away. No shots fired, no pursuit, just observation. It doesn't make sense. Harper frowns, confusion cutting through the fear. Why let them live? The answer comes as he looks down. Trucks, tiny at first, then clearer as he descends, military vehicles moving across the fields below. Some follow the drifting parachutes, adjusting course, converging on likely landing points. They're being tracked, collected, captured. Harper's grip tightens on the parachute straps. This isn't mercy, it's efficiency. Above him, a distant explosion tears through the sky. He turns just in time to see the remains of the second B-17 finally give out, its structure collapsing midair before disappearing into a plume of black smoke far below. Harper swallows hard. That could have been him. The wind shifts slightly, pushing his parachute off course. The ground is closer now, details sharper. He can make out fences, trees, even figures moving below. Soldiers, waiting. He reaches instinctively for the small sidearm at his belt, more comfort than weapon at this height. No escape now. The sky, once endless, is closing in, and for the first time since the mission began, Harper realizes the war isn't up there anymore. It's waiting for him on the ground. The ground rises faster than Harper expects. What felt slow and distant moments ago now rushes toward him with quiet certainty. The wind tugs at his parachute, shifting his descent slightly off course toward an open field bordered by thin trees and a dirt road. And along that road, movement. German soldiers. He sees them clearly now, gray uniforms, helmets catching the light, rifles slung ready. A truck grinds to a halt, and more men jump out, spreading into the field with practiced precision. They've done this before. Harper exhales slowly, forcing his breathing under control. Panic won't help him now. He adjusts his legs, preparing for impact the way he was trained. Bend. Roll. Get up fast. The ground hits hard. He collapses into the landing, shoulders striking first, momentum carrying him into a rough roll across the grass. The parachute canopy collapses behind him, dragged briefly by the wind before settling. For a second, he just lies there, alive. Then instinct kicks in. Harper scrambles to his feet, hands already moving to release the harness. He turns, scanning, calculating distance, terrain, options. There are none. The nearest German soldiers are already closing in, their boots cutting through the field in steady rhythm. Rifles are raised, not firing, but ready. Hands up. One of them shouts in accented English. Harper freezes. His hand brushes the grip of his sidearm. A useless gesture. There are too many. Too close. Slowly, he raises his hands. The soldiers approach cautiously, weapons trained on him. One circles behind, kicking his dropped parachute aside, while another steps forward to disarm him, removing the pistol. Checking for anything else. Their movements are efficient, controlled. No anger, no hesitation, just procedure. Harper keeps his eyes forward, jaw tight. Around him, more parachutes touch down across the fields. Some men are already on their feet, hands raised like him. Others are being escorted away under guard. A few lie motionless where they landed. Harper doesn't look at them for long. A soldier gestures with his rifle. Move. Harper obeys. They guide him toward the road, where other captured airmen are being gathered near the truck. Faces he recognizes, some from his crew, others from the second bomber. All silent, all processing the same truth. The mission is over. As Harper steps onto the dirt road, he glances back just once. High above, barely visible now, a thin trail of smoke marks where Iron Resolve made its final descent. No sign of a parachute from the cockpit. His chest tightens. The soldier behind him nudges forward. Keep moving. Harper turns away from the sky. Ahead lies uncertainty, interrogation, captivity. Behind him, everything he knows is gone, and his war has just changed forever. The truck moves slowly along the dirt road, its engine rattling beneath the weight of captured men and silent thoughts. Harper sits in the back, hands resting on his knees, wrists still free but watched. Around him, other airmen stare ahead or down at the wooden floorboards, each lost in his own version of what just happened. No one speaks. There's nothing left to say. The countryside rolls past in muted colors, fields, trees, small farmhouses untouched by the chaos that just unfolded in the sky above them. It feels wrong, too calm, as if the world below has no idea what it has just witnessed. Harper shifts slightly, glancing at the men beside him. One of them catches his eye, gunner from the second B-17. His face is pale, streaked with soot, eyes hollow but alive. You made it, the man says quietly. Harper nods once. Yeah. A pause. Did anyone stay on your bird? Harper doesn't answer right away. He doesn't need to. The silence says enough. The truck slows. Ahead, a small German outpost comes into view. Barbed wire, wooden fencing, guards posted at the entrance. Temporary, functional. Another stop in a system built for war. The prisoners are ordered down. Boots hit the ground one by one. Harper steps off last, his legs stiff from the ride. A guard motions them forward, directing them into a fenced area where more captured airmen are already gathered. Processing. Names. Ranks. Units. The routine begins immediately. Harper stands in line, the weight of exhaustion settling into his bones. His flight suit is torn, stained with oil and smoke. His gloves are still stiff with cold. A German officer walks down the line, studying each man carefully. When he stops in front of Harper, his gaze lingers. You were in the aircraft that collided, he says in measured English. Harper meets his eyes but says nothing. The officer tilts his head slightly, almost curious. It is unusual, he continues. 2 bombers flying as one. Harper's jaw tightens. Unusual. That's one way to describe it. The officer studies him for another moment, then steps aside without another word. The line moves forward. As Harper reaches the fence, he grips the cold wire for just a second, grounding himself in something real. Above him, the sky stretches wide and empty again. No bombers, no fighters, no fire, just silence. But the image stays with him, burned into his mind. To B-17s, locked together in the sky, not falling, not fighting, just surviving, for as long as they could. And now, as the gates close behind him, Harper understands something he didn't before. Sometimes, in war, survival isn't victory. It's just the beginning of another kind of battle.